the Atlantic, 800 miles from America to Bermuda in 5 hours. Abroad and back again in a weekend. Here is the latest miracle of modern travel magic. In little more time than it takes you to go to the theater, see a show, and return home again, you can cruise through the skies to these treasure islands of the blue Atlantic. The magic carpets of this aerial cruise are the famous clipper ships of the Pan American Airways fleet or the Empire flying boats of Great Britain's Imperial Airways. And it's the easiest thing in the world to do. You simply pack your bag and go. Step aboard this giant flying boat, the USA Bermuda Clipper, huge 21-ton sister ship of the famous clippers which pioneered the Trans-Pacific Airway to the Orient and are now blazing a similar trail across the Atlantic. You glide smoothly across the waters of New York's Manhasset Bay as her 3,200 horsepower lift the huge ship into the air. All clear from the starter, and as easily and excitingly as that, you're on your way. Before you have a chance to settle down in one of the 5 luxurious cabins, you are treated to one of the most magnificent sights on the face of the globe. New York City from the air. Probably nowhere else on the globe can you experience such a quick transition from the bustle of your everyday life to the enchanted quiet of these islands of Bermuda that now lie just beyond the horizon. Cruising so smoothly, so easily through the cloud-flecked skies, it's hard to realize that those once distant islands are just beyond your horizon, and that they are 3 miles closer practically every minute. It's hard, too, to realize you're aboard an airplane as you wander through this great clipper ship, with its 50-foot aisle, its smoking salon, its roomy lounge, its quiet, soundproofed cabins, and luxurious compartments. As soon as New York is passed, like most passengers, you'll want to take a peek up forward. On the bridge of this ocean airliner, 4 flying officers are constantly on duty. The captain and his first officer, by turns, regulate the flight controls. The engineering officer tends to the smooth functioning of the great power plant. The radio officer maintains constant contact with the guarding ground stations ashore. Immediately behind the bridge is the navigator's compartment, where a 5th officer has his post to plot the course of the flying clipper by celestial navigation and radio bearings, just as an ocean liner is kept on her course. It is this same flight routine that guides sister clipper ships across and around the Caribbean Sea to Central and South America, also on the Trans-Pacific route to China and the Orient. Like on most ships, the stewards are the busiest members of the crew. And here comes that famous 300-mile luncheon. A specially selected menu, specially prepared by Longchamp, and served on sparkling china and crisp table linen with real silver. Everything from soup to nuts, and after-dinner mints. So smoothly do these giant flying boats cruise through the sky that you have no sensation of speed or motion, only a glimpse of some ship waddling along on the indigo ocean far below, or of the rainbow-encircled shadow of the airliner on a passing cloud. No travel is more restful. After lunch, there is just time to address a few postcards before the steward announces Bermuda on the horizon. What a picture these colorful coral islands make as they rise slowly from the ocean's floor. These are the first aerial travel pictures ever made of Bermuda from the air. And before the coming of these ocean airliners, scarcely 20 men had ever looked upon Bermuda from the air. From the broad windows of your aerial liner, the whole 25-mile arc of the 100 islands passes by in a living panorama. Here, at one glance, you thrill to the striking beauty of them all, each framed in its border of glistening beach and gentle surf, its bright coral houses glistening against the rich background of colorful foliage, its waters of 1,000 different shades, all crystal clear to the ocean's floor beneath. On the approach, you have an aerial tour of all the islands. Before your clipper ship glides to her smooth landing in lovely Hamilton Harbor, 5 hours from New York. Almost before the clatter of New York's roaring traffic has stopped ringing in your ears, you step into a quaint bit of old colonial England, where the Victoria is still queen of the highway, and the horse still the living symbol of transportation. And even the rule of the road changes from right to left. From the tower of the century-old Parliament building, you get a closer panorama of the dreamy old village of Hamilton, with its cloistered cathedral, and of the unhurried, leisurely gait and life of the true Bermudian. A few blocks down the capital's main street, and you are already surrounded by rural landscape. White coral roads crisscross the islands, which are divided into 9 parishes, each with its own little church and parish house. Winding highways turn from the rolling hills to follow the ancient natural seawall, just as it was when discovered by Juan de Bermudez in 1515. Bermuda is a golfer's paradise. There is a different seaside game required for every one of the island's 9 courses, one for every parish. Even underground, Bermuda seems to have its natural wonders. Innumerable caves and grottos buried in the earth, where lovely crystal formations look like a huge natural pipe organ, whose only music is a subtlety of color to vie with any rainbow. Only competitor to the horse and buggy and the bicycle is the island's single-track railway, which makes the 12 miles from Hamilton to St. George's within an hour and reduces your bicycling to a pleasure. The first settlement on the islands, the city of St. George's, has all the charms of an old-world hamlet. Its ancient coral buildings have stood through the centuries. Government House and Old St. Peter's have a dignity which only a master of old architecture could achieve. The narrow streets are still known by their quaint old names, for instance, Featherbed Alley and Old Maid's Lane. Old forts abound on the island, reminiscent of the days when pirate and buccaneer came to loot or use it as a hideout and treasure chest. Today they stand solemn, deserted, staring out to sea. Their guns rusting from disuse. Their embattled walls useful only as a decorative background to a peaceful beach. A gentle surf is never lacking in Bermuda, nor a breeze sufficient to provide ample sailing, a sport at which the Bermudians appear to be past masters. There are endless things to see and do. The landscapes and colorful vistas of the sea are admired by artists the world over. There are ready facilities for almost any sport. For the evening hours, the social life of the splendid cosmopolitan hotels and smart clubs is world famous. But of all, the most delightful of Bermuda's many attractions are its gently rolling surf and the pink-white coral beaches. Here is rest and relaxation in rich abundance, where idle hours drift softly by into a dreamy succession of happy days. For those who voyage through the sky, the trip by air adds days to your vacation, because on the fleet wings of those great flying boats, home is no longer a sea journey away, but only 5 speeding hours. On our return this time, we're aboard one of the giant flying boats of Great Britain's Imperial Airways, the Royal Mail aircraft Cavalier. Across the colored waters of Hamilton Harbor, the great Cavalier rises easily into the sky, and you start your short flight homeward out across the Gulf Stream toward the mainland of America. Through the broad windows, you get your last glimpse of the Fairy Islands, then quickly out to sea. Cavalier, sister ship of Britain's new aerial liners, which swing down the long air routes of empire to South Africa, to India, Australia, and the Orient, and which even now are preparing a British airway across the broad Atlantic, use these 4-engine flying boats. They are the finest of Europe's flying craft. Their high, broad cabins provide luxurious room to spare for 20 passengers. Moving from cabin to cabin down the long main aisle, you become acquainted with your fellow travelers and anticipate the pleasures of your return voyage. The large, airy cabins are quiet and restful. For a rubber of bridge, a refreshing drink before luncheon, or an ideal place to catch up on your reading. The ingenious lounge chairs are easily adjustable to assure restful comfort. Interesting vistas of sea and sky, of mottled ocean and fairy castles in the clouds. All too soon, America. You crowd along the promenade for an exciting glimpse of Manhattan's towering skyscrapers, of the teeming rivers, of the lovely estates which dot Long Island as you glide smoothly into a landing on the sheltered waters of Long Island Sound. Home again in 5 brief hours, across the Atlantic to Bermuda and back in an exciting weekend that must always stand out as a real travel adventure of a lifetime.